Okay.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Our group, Giselle, Turner, myself, and Ms. Hernandez, will be presenting today on creating vision and strategy direction. Go ahead and switch slide. Next slide. All right, so basically today we're going to do an overview explaining the relationship among vision, mission, strategy, and implementation mechanism. Create your personal leadership vision in using the common themes of powerful vision in your life and work. Next slide. Describe 4 basic approaches for framing a noble purpose that followers can believe in. We will also be covering understand how leaders formulate and implement strategies and apply the elements of effective strategy. Next slide. Okay, vision. A great leader's courage to fulfill his vision comes from passion and not position. And that was said by John C. Maxwell. Next slide. A vision. A vision can be thought of as a dream for the future. It can be ambitious, viewed for the future that everyone involved can believe in. One that can realistically be achieved, yet one that offers a future that is better than what now exists. For organization, if a vision is an attractive idea of future that is scalable yet not really obtainable. Next slide. Creating vision and strategic direction. One of the most important functions of a leader is to articulate and communicate a compelling vision that will motivate and energize people towards the future. Good leaders are always looking forward, setting a course for the future and getting everyone moving in the same direction. Okay. Next slide. Okay. Now, before I continue on to that slide, I'd like to just give a little example how vision could really work for you all. You have to excuse me, I'm a bit nervous right now. So, Bert Ratton was a teenager at the time when President JFK was in power. And according to it, President JFK set a mandate or a visionary for NASA to set their goal to be putting a man on the moon by the end of the decade. So in 1967, Bert Ratton, he was a teenager at that time, he stood with the rest of the world and he looked at how after the NASA was mandated to put the man on the moon, he saw when Neil Armstrong, Edward Aldrin, and Michael Collins stepped on the moon. That was 40 years later, right? Well, after that, 40 years later, Bert went on to have his own vision that he wanted to have commercial flight to the moon. So in 2004, he had his company called Scale Competition Ships. Set there, one of their ships, the Spaceship One, which landed at Mojave Desert after having their second flight to the moon, their second human carrying flight to the moon in 2004. Moving on, fast forward, we have where Richard Branson ended up joining forces with Bert company. Well, I'm not sure if Bert was alive still, but the company, Scales Composite, was still running. And his vision with them was, of course, to have commercial flights for human beings to the moon. And as of this year, they were scheduled to have their second test for people to go to the moon. So it has been postponed again because of the COVID and so forth. So next year, hopefully, in I think it might be July month, it is scheduled for the next flight, the commercial flight for humans to go to the moon. And if anybody interested, the fee for it is 200,000 to 250,000 for a seat. If anybody interested in having that flight. One of the reasons why I just brought up this, apart from it being in the textbook, it was to show that once you have a vision, you could he had this vision as a young child, as 14 years old, just seeing something and having this dream and say, wait, I wish I could go to the moon too. No, it took him over 40 years to get his dream there, to get his company there, where they could have made that happen. So what I'm saying is that vision does not have to be short term, although we do have a short term, medium term, and long term vision, where in class we may have our short term vision, like everybody would hope to have an A in the next 2 months in this course. Medium term might be to finish this degree within the next 5 years, and our long term might be the next 10 years to have your own company or whatever, or teaching the same course. So that's just a simple concept of how your vision could work. Now we're looking at strategic leadership. Strategic leadership is the ability to anticipate and envision the future, maintaining flexibility, think strategically, and work with others to eliminate change that will create a competitive advantage for the organization in the future. In the fast-changing world, leaders are faced with a bewildering array of complex and ambiguous information that no two leaders will see things the same way or make the same choices. Next slide, please. Now, please, if anybody, I don't have question, please, free to stop me and ask me a question as we go along, okay? Challenges let face when creating strategies. The complexity of the environment and the uncertainty of the future can overwhelm a leader, hence drawing their attention from away active strategies, active strategic activities. In this one, I can show you like an example. For instance, it had so many small businesses and medium businesses throughout this country. And over the last year, because of the virus, the COVID virus, now we are seeing this is how the environment plays a key role in it. We are now facing where a lot of our small businesses have closed down. Now, these people, I'm sure, would have had great visions for their company, but because now of unforeseen circumstances, their businesses, some have closed down, some have downsized, and some is just still hanging by a string. All right. Caught up in the day-to-day operation of the organization. That is another challenge that some of us or business people, or even ourselves as leaders in our own homes, because now the challenges is of everything that is going on around. We're seeing business people more micromanaging their business in like scrutinizing every little thing they're spending money on, if they're buying stock, if they're not buying stock, um, how everything is running. If they're letting go of staff, they now have to fully into that position. So in that aspect, they are now micromanaging their own organization. They don't have time to now sit down and strategize again. Okay, what's the next move? What's the next move? What are you going to do for next year? When everything is so uncertain right now. Even for us as students and parents and teachers, we are looking at in situations where some of us are unemployed. Some of us are now probably in homes where before we had double income, we now have single income, and now and everything in the grocery is expensive. So now you're just micromanaging your home and trying to make everything work. Okay. Again, too, we have another challenge might be because of the busy schedule, it is difficult to find quiet time to think or work on the big picture. Again, if we look at it as for the home front, it have some of us who may have been going out to work, and because of it, we are now working from home. But we are now not only working from home, we may have kids home now that you have to teach, you have to school, you have to supervise. You may have ill one home now, you have to pay extra attention now to health warnings and so forth, and go through all these other things that it is so, how should I say it? Not, I wouldn't say so much as frustrating, because I know some people might be frustrated, but your mind is so busy and filled that you don't get that quiet time for yourself to sit down and say, okay, let me plan what am I going to do? What am I going to do for my business for the next year or 2 years? How am I going to get this to run? How am I going to get that to run? When you have all these other things bubbling in your brain to the background. Again, please, if anybody want to make a comment or stop and ask a question, please do so. Any questions so far? Am I going too fast? No comment? Okay. Next.
You can go fast a little.
Okay, sorry. I tend to speak a little fast when I am nervous. So where did I lose you in any of it? Mario? Hi? Okay. But all right, next slide. Okay. This slide will illustrate the level that makes up the domain of strategic leadership. Strategic leadership is responsible for the relationship of the external environment to choose about vision, mission, strategy, and their implementation. Next slide. Okay, this is the diagram that will show us basically how these strategic leadership is set up from the top down. We have the vision. We have the vision for how us basically if anybody have ever went to a job interview, you will first one of the first questions they would ask you, one of the first five might be, what is your vision for the next 5 years? And what is your vision for the next 10 years? Now, this is a critical thing. You just say, well, okay, we're hoping to become a partner in this company and so forth, and whole contribute and whatever. And it's the same thing that for businesses that they also have vision. I remember looking at a documentary where Bill Gates was already saying, and that documentary was a couple years old. They already had visions for where they take in Microsoft. They have their 5 year vision, their 10 year vision, and their 20 year vision. So all these things, and they say they're working on all these different programs that could to release in the next 20 years. So that's alone to tell you how much people have been planning and where they really see the organization going, right? The mission is like what we are doing today, what we are doing now to get that vision, to materialize that vision, what kind of strategies and stuff that we are putting into place, right? And of course, there is strategy and then the architects for the alignment. If you go to the next slide, it will be more in-depth description of each part. Next slide, please. All right, so at the vision, you can see at the top, the exhibit at 13.1 is a clear, compelling vision of where the organization wants to be to 5 to 10 years. The vision will reflect the environment and the work in concept with the company's mission, its core value, purpose, and reason for existence. Next slide. What we do today this year also needs to add value, purpose to the vision. The mission in this organization core board propose and reason for existence. It defines a company core values and reasons for being, and it provides a basic for creating the vision. Whereas vision is an ambition desire from the future. Mission is what the organization stands for in a larger sense. Next slide. All right, on strategy, strategy provides direction for transition of the vision into action and is the basis for the development of specific mechanism to help the organization achieve goals. Strategies are intention, whereas implementation is taught that the basic organization structure incentives that makes things happen. For instance, like, okay, one of the strategies, like, say for instance, you have a insurance agency firm. The main aim of the insurance is to get more and more people to buy your insurance from your company. So they might have the insurance agent out there selling insurance. And in order to get the insurance agent to kind of push for more sales or to push for more people to insure, they might tell them, okay, here what, whoever get the most clients within the end of the year might get a trip to one of the Caribbean islands or something. Or whichever group do it will get uh, some money or something for the end of the year. They should get a bonus, probably $1,000 bonus each member might get or something. So have some sort of incentive to keep pushing to get the organizational structure within where they would want it to be, right? And if you notice, each level of the hierarchy in the exhibit will support the level above each other. So they had it down the agent to come forward. And then there were medium people who will be the managers and directors and so forth, again, doing their part in strategy and how they're going to plan which insurance you should get, if it's a health and all these different insurance things that they could come up with. And the person at the top with the CEOs and then will have the vision as to say, well, okay, this is where we want to take the company, not just for insurance, no, but we want to have subsidies under for our names. We don't just want to have an insurance company, no, we want to start off with a full banking. We want to have cars so people can take rent from and have buy customers and get insurance and so forth. And these are the little things that build to build up an organization. Any questions so far? None? Okay, next slide, please. Right, and so basically what I just said, the architecture for aligning and implementation, the architecture for aligning and implementation layer is where we make things happen. It is important to note that each layer acts and supports and build block, be the building block for each other layer. Next slide. Leadership vision. A vision can be thought of as a dream for the future. A vision is also more than a dream. It is the ambition view of the future that everyone involved can believe in, one that can realistically be achieved, yet one that offers a future that is better in important ways than that now exists for organization. A vision is a attraction, ideal future that is credible yet not really obtainable. Okay. Sometimes visions are brief, compelling, and slogan-like, easily communicated to the understanding of everyone in the organization. Example, Coca-Cola, a a Coke within arm's reach of everyone on the planet. Again, that was, how old is Coca-Cola? I think that was 18 something. They created that, and look how many years, how much hundreds of years after, and everybody, and they have achieved it because I'm sure everybody in the world know what Coca-Cola is, and everybody have access to just simply go and purchase a Coca-Cola, right? As opposed to when it was first created, only certain class of people used to get Coca-Cola. Same thing go with Wingley's Junior, the fourth generation leader, okay, of Wiggly Company, crafted the slogan, Wiggly brand woven into the fabric of everyday life around the world. It is captured that the company vision of moving beyond chewing gum, such as juicy fruit, to become a broader food and confectionery company, competitive with European Cadbury and Schweppes. And they did that. They moved on to have other companies. Sorry, I didn't write down the companies that they do have. Next slide. All right. Not all successful organizations have such short easy communicated slogan. Their visions are powerful because leaders paint a compelling picture of where the organization went to. Example, the vision of expressed by civil rights leaders Martin Luther King in his I Have a Dream speech is a good example of how leaders paint a vision in this world. Next slide. All right, and these are some examples of vision statements that company that you may have. I'm sure that you may know a few. Motorola there was becoming a primary company in the world. Ritz-Carlton engineering department to boldly go where no hotel has ever gone before, free of all defects. Johnson Controls Limited continually exceed our customer increasing expectation. New York City Transit, no graffiti. I don't know if they achieved that one to having no graffiti, because I know there's a lot of graffiti throughout New York, but I think they're probably still working on it. Texas Commercial Bank, Elite, what annoys our bankers, our customers, and BP Beyond Petroleum, and their slogan is still there, and you can see that they're still working on that. And Egon, what is that? Hengziker, be the world's leader in executive search. Okay. Okay, next slide, please. Leadership vision. Strong, inspiring vision has been associated with higher organizational performance. When a person is encouraged by a picture of what the organization can be in the future, they can help take it there. Recall from the form of the previous chapter that the vision is an important aspect of transitional leadership. Transitional leadership typically articulate vision that present a higher optimist view of the future and express higher confidence than the better future can be realized. Okay, and that's the same thing like if we could look, we can maybe look at Microsoft from where they started to where they are now and where they plan to be. We have Bill Gates now not only looking into creating computers and so forth, but they're working on vaccines. They're working on well, of course, I think they finished eradicate polio, I think. And working on all different things. And one of the examples also I would use is that the leadership vision. Leaders at the Greater Chicago Food Dispository have a vision of transferring a nonprofit agency from an organizational that just feeds the hungry to one that helps end hunger. Poverty is a big problem and it causes many and complex. Yet one thing is clear, as Micah McQueen pointed out, people can't begin to move out of poverty unless they can get good jobs. The vision of helping people change life has energized employees at the Greater Chicago Food Disporium in a way that simply provides food to low income that low clients never did. Now, one of the ways that they did this um, was by creating a 12-week culinary boot camp aimed to teach low-income and low-skilled workers how to cook, basic cooking skills. And along with that, the skills, they taught them things, simple leadership skills, like being punctual, teamwork, commitment, and personal responsibility with goals and landing goals to achieve for themselves, right? Now, when they did this, they not only created jobs for people, because a lot of people, after they did this 12-week thing, went on to get jobs. They also kept the youths from gangs and from the drugs, right? So that was one of the main, apart from it, not only feeding people, but teaching people to be self-sufficient through that means. Next slide. The vision is just as important for non-profit agencies like the Greater Chicago Food Disporium, this, Dispensatory, the sorry, the United Way and the Salvation Army, as it is for businesses such as Coca-Cola, Google, or General Electric. Indeed, some have argued that nonprofit needs vision even more than they do businesses, since they operate without the regular feedback provided by profit and loss. In Exhibit 13.3, vision just show a guiding star drawing everyone along the same path towards the future. Vision is based on the current reality, but is concerned with a future that is substantially different from the status quo. Taking a group of organizations along this path requires leadership. Next slide, please. Okay, and this is basically the diagram for it, where we are currently and where we are moving towards. Next slide. Okay, what vision does. Vision works in a number of important ways. An effective vision provides a link between today and tomorrow, serves to energize and motivate employees towards the future, provides meaning for people, work, and set a standard for excellence and integrity in the organization. Next slide. All right. Vision links to the present and the future. Vision connects what is going on right now with what the organization aspires to. A vision is always about the future, but it begins with the here and the now. Consider the Microsoft advertisement slogan: your potential inspires to create products that help you reach it. Microsoft employees created software products that help meet current needs, but they also strive to envision and create products that might encourage others, broader anticipation for the future. However, to achieve the broader vision, they are pushing people to take risks and think about such questions as what else is out there, who are we competing with, and why can't we do some of that too? Next question. And I think those are questions so that we should ask ourselves internally, um, in terms of not just in what we are doing now as in our jobs and for our families. We may, all of us, some of us may be employed, some of us not, and may not be necessarily happy where we are in terms of employment and so forth. So sometimes you need to ask yourself, what else is out there for me? What else can I do? What else can I um, achieve in life? I don't necessarily have to continuously be in a place just to get a salary that I'm unhappy with and really don't want to be at. Okay, next question, next slide. Vision needs to transcend the bottom line because people are willing and even eager to commit to something truly worthwhile. Sometimes that makes us better for others or improve their communities. People want to feel enthusiastic about their work. Many people commit their time and energy voluntarily to because they believe in a political campaign, a community event, or environmental cause. Example of that was when we had the Andrea Barrett case. You saw the whole country coming together. They had nothing to gain from it monetarily wise, but everybody came out together in support of fighting crime and protecting the women. And I wouldn't say just women, but everyone in this country and making a stand for it. Next slide. People also need to find dignity and meaning in their work. They are drawn to companies that offer them a chance to do something meaningful. Today, prospective employees often ask about a company vision when interviewing for a job because they want to know what the organization aims for and how whether they will fit in. And I think that is a question people should really be. I have never been in an interview where I asked that person, the interviewer, that, but I think from now on I will, because you really need to not just get a job, but realize if it's a really good fit for what their level of integrity is. Next slide. Vision exhibits a standard of excellence and integrity. A powerful vision frees people from the mundane of providing them with a challenge that requires them to give their best. In addition, vision provides a measure by which employees can gauge their contribution to the organization. Most workers welcome the chance to see how their work fits into the whole. Vision, clarity, and content and connects to the core values and ideals of the organization and thus sets a standard of integrity for employees. A good vision brings out the best in people by illustrating important values, speaking to people's heart, and letting them be part of something bigger than themselves. Anybody have any views on this slide? Nobody? Okay, next slide. Okay, so now I'm going to take you on to Giselle and she will carry you through from here. Giselle? Okay, Giselle was just playing a Martin Luther King speech for you all. I have a dream. I'm not sure if everybody heard it, but I think
I
she's.
thought I honestly thought that was the TV.
No. She was trying to play it. We couldn't get it on the slide, so she was probably trying to play it from the phone. That the "I Have a Dream" speech by Dr. Martin Luther King.
Okay, thank you very much for that, Savita. Good night, everyone. My name is Giselle Tuna, and as Savita said, I was trying to play part of it for us to have a picture of what I'm going to speak about, which is common themes and vision. So, if persons remembered Martin Luther King's speech, that those very powerful words, I have a dream. Common themes in vision. There are 5 themes in vision, and we are looking at the broad appeal in that everyone must share in the vision for it to become a reality. So basically, we are saying from captain to cook, people want to become involved in something that would help achieve that goal. Vision helps with change. To achieve change, it motivates everyone to do their part in making the vision come to fruition. because it induces a call to action for the better. Sometimes that change could be scary, but if that vision is communicated with clarity, obstacles can be overcome. It encourages faith and hope. And Hebrews chapter 11, verse 1 says, now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. So vision is something that is imaginary. It can't be seen or verified beforehand, but it speaks to the human needs and desires. It also reflects high ideals, meaning that it would energize, uplift, and inspire persons. And a leader is someone who will get persons to respond to these challenges with an eye towards the future. And it will also define both the destination and the journey. So when you know where you are going, you'll be able to go along on that journey. Next slide. So how does a vision work? It works on a number of levels, whether individuals, divisions, departments, and the success will depend on how well persons can communicate their vision. So whether the vision is personal or organizational, it will grow and change over time. And this vision is what will tie everyone in the organization together by directing and controlling people for the good of themselves and the organization. So a branch of new science is now saying, before I go back, we say define the steps of the journey, and remember we used to say long ago, if Muhammad can't come to the mountain, if the mountain can't come to Muhammad, then Muhammad shall go to the mountain. Sometimes we look at the big picture, or for want of a better word, we look at the mountain, and sometimes we don't see the steps that we need to take to get up to the mountain. Just food for thought. So, self reference is defined as each element in a system will serve the goals of the whole system when the elements are imprinted with an understanding of the whole. So, just a little look at the jigsaw puzzle. We have different parts of a jigsaw puzzle coming in, fitting all together to make that whole. Next slide, please. So how does the vision work? And we are continuing. Development of a shared vision entails openness, good listening skills, and the courage to connect emotionally with people. And this is some repetition because we heard about that in the presentation before. So it is a leader's responsibility to be in touch with the hopes and dreams that drive employees and find a common ground that binds the personal dreams into a shared vision for the organization. I think Mr. St. Bryce was asking something about that when we are talking about the servant leadership. So if we can get that the way in which that you can communicate to persons that they would be able to share their dreams, and maybe we may work independently, but if we are heading in the same direction for the greater good of the organization, then it could possibly work. Next slide, please. So, mission. Mission is the organization's core broad purpose and the reason for existing. It provides a basis for creating the vision, and it will remain despite changing technologies, economic conditions, and other environmental shifts. For instance, 5 years ago, none of us would have envisioned the future that we are seeing now. A mask is actually a norm, and we no longer can congregate, we have to social distance. Vision is futuristic, while mission is what the organization stands for. Next slide. So it keeps the organization together in times of change. guides strategic choices and decisions about the future. It is enduring and it can be used to incentivize workers. And last but not least, it can be used as a leadership tool. Next slide. So, the mission is made up of two critical parts, the core values and the core purpose. The core values guide the organization, even if it may result in loss of revenue. I don't know if you all are aware of this, but in 1982, Johnson & Johnson had to recall their extra strength Tylenol capsule, which was their best-selling pharmaceutical pain reliever at the time, because someone had tampered with some capsules and 7 people, after having taken the capsule, died from cyanide poisoning. So Johnson & Johnson took the lead and decided to recall those capsules, even though it resulted in a major loss. But on the other hand, it would have made the public, the world, deem them to be a trustworthy organization because they withstood that and all the bad publicity that went with it. So the core purpose is usually a noble one. For example, Walmart, to give ordinary folk the chance to buy the same things as rich people. How interesting. Next slide, please. Is there any questions? Am I as clear as mud? Okay. So
Was that
leaders,
was that sarcasm when you talked about?
uh, leaders should use the core purpose to inspire and lead followers to high performance. And in that way, whatever it is, the purpose, it must be pertinent, it must be relevant, and it should have made a positive difference to whatever goal they are trying to achieve. So it helps the organization to maintain a competitive advantage. Next slide. So this is just an example of a mission statement as opposed to a vision statement. So the Motorola says that they want to apply technology to benefit the public, while Samsung vision statement says, inspire the world with our innovative technologies, products, and designs that enrich people's lives and contribute to social prosperity by creating a new future. So one is as is, and the other one is reaching for the stars. Next slide, please. So approaches to organizational purpose, of which we have 4. So the purpose, we have discovery, excellence, altruism, and heroism. And with a little description, we know what discovery means. It means to find something new. And the basis for the action would be a pioneer or an entrepreneur. And as Savita had spoken about, we have Virgin, we have 3M, and we have IBM. Excellence, being the best, of course, and it is supposed to give you some sort of fulfillment, and that's where Apple, BMW, and Berkshire Hathaway come in. Altruism, providing service, and this should ideally present you with some form of happiness, and that is where Walmart and Service Master come in. Heroism, being effective because you want to be strong to achieve this goal. And Microsoft has done it because they have, as Sabita was talking, they have gone beyond the computer into pharmaceuticals and philanthropy and things like that. Dell is not too far behind, and ExxonMobil. Next slide, please. Next. So, long-term success, it would hinge on whether on the top executive with a noble purpose. Because if this noble purpose is well chosen, It will tap into emotions and instincts of employees and customers, thereby contributing to better morale, greater innovativeness, and higher employee and organizational performance. Simply put, it means that if you believe in what you are doing, you would tend to work and strive a bit harder to get there. Next slide, please. So, strategic management is dependent on the success of an organization's mission. And the definition of strategic management is a set of decisions and actions used to formulate and implement specific strategies that will achieve a competitively superior fit between the organization and its environment so as to achieve organizational goals. And the leader's job is to find this fit and translate it into action. I think Sue had mentioned something about that when Mr. Sinbryce had spoken about the servant leadership. So you want to be able to use the vision and the values and the purpose of the organization and tweak it so that it fits the goal that you would be aiming for. Next strategy. Next slide, please. So, in order for that to happen, leaders have to ask themselves some questions, which are, where is the organization now? Where does the organization want to be? What change and trends are occurring in the competitive environment? What courses of action can help us to achieve our vision? Next slide, please. So, a strategy is a general plan of action to help organizations in its quest to reach its goals, and you would have to use resources, the environment, and trends in order to come up with your strategy. It sometimes requires a lot of risk, and it will shift accordingly until the right fit is found. So it is dependent on three qualities, that is success. Core competence, basically what you can do better than your competitors. Developing synergy, which would be creating partnerships, alliances, so that you would be able to get more out of the market, technology, employee skills, so that you will be able to conquer more when you have a joint collaborative effort. Creating value for customer. So imagine a towel that is worth $60 and you are paying $25 for it. So that's a benefit that the consumer would believe that, oh, I'm really getting value for my money. Next slide, please. So, where to go? Strategy formulation. This integrates knowledge of the environment, vision, and mission with the company's core competencies in such a way as to achieve synergy and create value for customers, which is basically what I have just said. Leaders must ensure that the strategies are implemented. So you want to be sure that the behavior of the employees is the behavior that you really want, because you want the behavior to be moving towards the direction in which the company is heading. So you don't want to be in a position that the workers are doing something that can cause a negative reaction for the organization. Next slide. So, developing effective strategy requires actively listening to people both inside and outside the organization, as well as examining trends and discontinuities in the environment that can be used to gain an edge. So, you as a strategic leader, you need to study the past, things that happened already, and you act with the future in mind. So it will involve some radical thinking, sometimes a great deal of innovativeness, and sometimes you generally would have to think outside of the box. Next slide, please. So how are we going to get there? Implementation. This is the most important and the most difficult part of strategic management. So putting strategy into action by adjusting various parts of the organization and directing resources to accomplish strategic goals. So leaders must carefully and consistently manage the implementation process to achieve results, because success relies on follower support. So it's the leader's job to ensure that people understand and are committed to the organization's strategic direction. Next slide, please. So, and there we go back to that word trust. People who feel trust in their leaders and commitment to the organization are typically more supportive of strategy and put forth more effort to implement strategic decisions. Strategy can also be implemented through organizational elements such as structural design, pay or reward systems, budget allocations, organizational rules, policies, or procedures. And sometimes leaders may have to make changes. Some may be big, some may be small, in structure, systems, policies, and things that are needed to support the direction in which the company is headed. Next slide. So we have a little chart here. It is actually Exhibit 13.7, which was a bit difficult to reproduce, but I will try my best to explain what it is. So we are looking at ease of implementation. On one side, we have what would be high strategic impact. That may be a bit difficult. So the first one is a high impact, but very hard to implement. Major changes, but with potential for high payoff. And we know that change is something most people resist. So if that change is going to be major, it definitely may be hard to implement, even though it may end up with a high payoff. On that lower end, we have the low impact, hard to implement, difficult changes with little or no potential for payoff. And this is a category that should be avoided. And then we go on to the easy side now, where we have the high impact, easy to implement, simple changes that have high strategic impact. Action should be taken here first. And last but not by no means least, you have an impact that would be low impact, easy to implement, incremental improvements. So you're looking at small wins. You know, sometimes they say you have to win the battle and sometimes may end up losing the war. Small wins, and you pursue it for symbolic value of success. So it may not necessarily be a high payoff. Next slide, please. Or I think I would be sending you over to Consuelo to consolidate the presentation.
All right. Hello, good evening, everyone. So my contribution consists just of a tail end of the strategy implementation, also the leader's contribution, communicating vision and action, and the leader's impact. Just so before I start, I just want to just give a brief definition of a strategic implementation. This is what company employs in an organization. So basically, what is a strategic implementation? It's the process that puts plans and strategies into action to reach desired goals. The strategic plan itself is a document that details the steps and processes needed to reach planned goals and includes feedback and progress reports to ensure that the plan is on track. And to implement that plan, Implementation is a process that turns strategies and plans into action in order to accomplish strategic objectives and goals. Implementing your strategic plans is as important or even more important than your strategy. Unfortunately, there are a lot of companies that basically fail to implement their plans and end up nowhere today because of their failure in doing so. So, just for as an example, we have the Payless Shoe Store, and their strategy, their company's strategy was or is to appeal to young, fashion-conscious women with trendier shoes at reasonable prices. Give the store a new look by placing strategic lighting using modern white ceiling lamps, which brighten the whole store, and by using accent lamps, which highlight the higher fashion items. So ultimately, they want when you pay $12 for a shoe, you feel like you spend $20. So you basically they want you to feel like you get more bang for your buck, you get more value for your money. And this was the goal by Matt Hubel, CEO of Taylor Shoe. And moving on to some strategies, some strategic decisions are more difficult to implement and are now considered high risk. For example, pursuing growth mergers and acquisitions can present difficulties of blending production processes, accounting procedures, corporate cultures, and other aspects of the organization into an effectively functioning whole. Structural reorganization, for instance, a shift to horizontal teams or breaking a corporation into separate divisions is another example of a high-risk decision. Leaders frequently initiate major changes despite the risks and difficulties because of the potential strategic payoff is very high. So I guess some companies, despite what may be to the outsider, as it says here, high risk decision, they feel long term that where they're able to make a profit. And sometimes that governs their decision in doing those things that we may otherwise may not think is something that is necessary. Moving on, leaders also sometimes pursue activities that have low strategic impact, but which are relatively easy to implement. Incremental improvements in products, work processes, or techniques are examples. Over time, incremental improvements can have an important effect on the organization. It may be important for leaders to produce quick, high visible improvements to boost morale, keep people committed to larger changes, or keep followers focused on the vision. And another example used in the text is the manager of a purchasing department wanted to re-engineer the purchasing process to increase efficiency and improve relationships with suppliers. He wanted requisitions and invoices to be processed within days rather than weeks it normally takes. Employees were skeptical that the department could ever meet the new standards and pointed out that some invoices currently awaiting processing were almost 2 months old. The manager had a plan and a vision. He in turn made simple revisions in the flow of paperwork and employee duties, which enabled the department to process all the old invoices so that no remaining invoices was more than a week old. This win was able to energize employees and help them focus on the larger goals. The positive attitude made implementation of the larger change smoother. He basically had to convince his employees of what the ultimate goal was in order for them to see his vision and in order for them to be motivated in helping him to make the change. He can do it on his own, and it's also important as a leader. You have to You have the support of your team to help you make your goals a reality. If you don't have that support, that's when things can break down and you will not meet your objectives overall. So the leader's contribution. Leaders are responsible for establishing direction through vision and strategy. When leadership fails to provide direction, organizations flounder. And they have like a little action plan on the side, which is strategic management is one of the most critical jobs of a leader. But leaders may exhibit different strategy styles that can be effective. All leaders have different styles how they run their business. But the ultimate goal is that people see that you have a clear vision of what you want and where you want your company to be. And you have to put things in place, put mechanisms in place to streamline to, to make that goal happen. Stimulating vision and action. Hopes and dreams for the future are what keep people moving forward. However, for leaders to make a real difference, they have to link those dreams with strategic action. Vision has to be translated to specific goals, objectives, and plans so that employees can move forward with the desired future. Continuing, stimulating vision and action. An old English teacher proverb, I guess, saying applies to organizations as it does to your own life. Life without vision is drudgery. Vision without action is but an empty dream. Action guided by vision is joy and the hope of the earth. I guess they're probably trying to say like if you just go through life aimlessly without any sort of plan, any sort of vision, any type of positive mindset, where will you where will you be taking you be have basically you have no sense of direction. You just as it says, you're just floating. You're just drudgery. So it helps to have a clear vision and understanding of what you want for your organization and even what you want for your own life in streamlining things and making it happen for you and making it happen for your organization. So there's an exhibit. I think I mistakenly left that up, and nevertheless, I'll just go through. So exhibit 13.8 illustrates four possibilities of leadership in providing direction. Four types of leaders described based on their attention to vision and attention to action. So they describe them as the person who's low both on providing vision and stimulating action is uninvolved and not a leader at all. The leader who is all action and little vision is a doer. The dreamer is good at providing a big idea with a meaning for self and others. This leader effectively inspire others with a vision, yet he or she is weak on implementing strategic action. Overall, to be an effective leader, one dreams big and transform those dreams into significant strategic action, either through his or her own activities or by hiring another leader who can effectively implement the vision and strategy. You basically have to have, as I was saying, you have to have people who share the same, who share your vision and your mindset in order to make your put your strategic plan into action. If you don't have that level of support, there's breakdown and there will be discord and there will be dysfunction and it will not work. So you basically have to be on the same level and have the same mindset. So they use Steve Jobs of Apple as an example. He was hailed as a visionary leader whose dream of merging the world of technology and creating design keep Apple on the cutting edge. Yet Jobs also understood the importance of implementation. And we move on to how leaders decide. To determine strategic direction for the future, leaders look inward, outward, and forward. Leaders scan both the internal and external organization environments to identify strengths, threats, and opportunities for the organization. And as a little action plan, a leader, as a leader, you can combine vision with action. You can make a difference to your team or organization by both having big dreams and transforming them into significant strategic action. Organizations need both a broad and inspiring vision and underlying plans on how to achieve it. To decide and map strategic direction, leaders strive to develop industry foresight based on trends in technology, demographics, government regulations, and lifestyle that will help to identify new competitive advantages. Just a moment, please. All right. One approach leaders take in setting a course for the future is through hard analysis. Situation analysis, for example, includes a search for SWOT, which basically identifies strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats that affect organizational performance. Leaders using situation analysis obtain external information from a variety of sources, such as customers, government, reports, suppliers, consultants, or association meetings. They gather information about internal strengths and weaknesses from sources such as budget, financial ratios, profit and loss statements, and employee surveys. Another formula used by leaders is a five-force analysis developed by Michael Porter, studied a number of businesses and proposed that strategy is often the result of five competitive forces: potential new entrants into an industry, the bargaining power of buyers, the bargaining power of suppliers, the threat of substitute products, rivalry among competitors. Ultimately, leaders develop these strategies to remain competitive. They always want to outdo each other and be one step ahead of the competition, as it says here. Vision and strategy is based on solid factual foundations, but too much rationality can get in the way of creating a compelling vision. Leaders conduct rational analysis, however, successful visions reflect their personal experiences and understandings. To formulate a vision, leaders must look inward to their hopes and dreams, and they must listen to the hopes and dreams of their followers. Foresight and the ability to see future possibilities emerge not just from traditional strategic planning tools and formulas, but from curiosity, instinct, and intuition, emotion, deep thinking, personal experience, and hope. Although vision is based on reality, it comes from the heart and not from the head. Move on to the leader's impact. When leaders link vision and strategy, they think they can make a real difference for their organization's future. A leader's greatest discretion is often over strategic vision and strategic action. Research has shown that strategic thinking and planning for the future can positively affect a company's performance and financial success. The makeup of the top leadership group is believed to affect whether an organization develops organizational the capability and ability to exploit strategic opportunities. Its team provides diverse aptitudes and skills. to deal with complex organizational situations. The leader's impact, summary and interpretation. Leaders establish organizational direction, vision, and strategy. They are responsible for studying the organization's environment, considering how it may be different in the future, and setting a direction everyone can believe in. The shared vision is an attractive, ideal future for the organization that is credible yet not readily attainable. A clear vision links the present and future by showing how actions and decisions can move the organization towards its long-range goals. Thank you, and that brings me to the end of the presentation. I hope that you all learned something from all of us, my teammates and I. I just want to thank all the other groups. It was an interesting evening and learning the other aspects of leadership. And I just want to say thank you to everyone.
So are there any questions from anybody? All right, if there are no questions, I'm going to pause the recording.